Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Dear viewers, welcome to the topic or to the episode of the benefits. I'm your host, AbdulRahman Dimishkia. We continue what we ended with the last episode, and that was quoting the beautiful verse where Allah the Almighty gave the condition on people to be beloved and forgiven by Him is to follow the messenger that Allah had sent, saying, if you love Allah, then follow me, Allah then will love you and forgive you your sins. Some people may say, well, what's wrong with doing this, which is something additional that the Prophet did not do? What's wrong with doing this and what's wrong with doing that? It's not a big deal. I say, but it is a big deal that you confine yourself to the worship of the Prophet, peace be with him, in order to achieve those two important things. What's wrong with achieving those two things? To be forgiven and to be beloved by Allah the Almighty. What's wrong with that? This is what all people wish. And this should be the consequence of your worship. So do not add something that the Prophet did not do in a matter of worship, I mean. Because the best person ever worshipped Allah the Almighty is the Prophet Muhammad, peace be with him. And you are going to die before completing what the Prophet did. So, since you're going to die before completing what he did, why do you have to add something? Are you telling me that you have done everything that he did and now you're waiting, trying to do something which he ended? Or he did not do, but you are doing? I don't think so. And I'd like to say this, that whoever accepts to innovate, he is in a matter of fact jeopardizing himself to lose this great glad tiding which we find in that verse, to be beloved by Allah and to be forgiven. Words of light that Ibn Al-Qayem, may Allah have mercy on him, he said, whoever Allah loves, we've been talking about to be beloved by Allah. So whoever Allah loves, He will make his heart busy with Him, his tongue busy with remembering Him, and his members to be busy with serving Him. It's very important. I'll repeat. He whom Allah loves, Allah will make his heart busy with loving Him, and his tongue busy with remembering Him, and his members busy with serving Him. Don't forget those beautiful words. If this happens, and people apply that, we can realize as a consequence that Islam being spread and served by this or those elements. The belief, the practicing belief of individuals. To the extent that one of the people said to me, we can realize you guys are dedicated with your faith. You are dedicated with your faith. Yes, that is why Islam was spread. Oh, some people say, well, Islam is spread by the sword. Now tell me, what sword was working or took place in places like Indonesia, which is today is the greatest country, Islamic country in the world? Was it converted by a sword, or by faithful merchants, commercial people? They were commercial, but they were faithful people, truthful people, trustworthy people, and by their characters, marvelous characters, they spread Islam. They did not dedicate themselves to invite people for Islam, but their charismatic characters invited people, in a matter of fact, to Islam. Why do we say that? Because we want to make it clear that jihad is not only by the sword, as many people, they give it misconception, or they mistranslate the word by saying jihad means the sword. That's not true. The word jihad is more comprehensive than to be confined in one of its meaning. The truth about this is that the word jihad means to strive the evil with all its forms, starting with the evil that is surrounding you. You have an enemy, an inner enemy, let me put it that way. There is an inner enemy in you, in which you have to make jihad against. Not only the far enemy, but I mean the inner enemy. If you were powerless and frustrated from performing jihad against your inner enemy, you will be more frustrated and more powerless in conducting jihad against the external enemy. That is why Allah the Almighty ordered us this in His glorious Quran by saying, وَجَاهِدُوا فِي اللَّهِ حَقَّ جِهَادِهِ. Strive for Allah's cause at the utmost you can. This is a command from Allah that we should strive the best. And this is a general kind of striving. It is not confined, and it should not be confined with the issue of the sword or etc. Now, let us ask this question. What is the best kind of jihad? The Prophet said that the best jihad is a person who stands and speaks the word of truth, in which people do not dare to say it in front of a tyrant, for example. A tyrant leader. To say the word of truth, which will be saving people. This is the best kind of jihad also. And in another narration, the best jihad is that the person make jihad against his own soul and his own desire. That is also the best jihad. In these days where we find the evil is spreading easily, it became easy to be followed, to be applied. This corruption can be found on a CD, on a channel, on the street. I say, he who flees himself from corruption, which became easy, from fornication, from adultery, from seeing what he's not supposed to be seeing, I can describe this person to be a real mujahid, means one who's striving against the evil. Mujahid is not a person that holds the gun or the sword. Mujahid is one also who strives the best to flee from corruption. Fearing Allah in the unseen, this is one of the greatest kinds of jihad. Really, to apply this is a doctrine in itself. It is a doctrine in itself that you fear Allah in the unseen. It's easy to fear Allah when the eyes of people are watching you, but it's not easy to fear Allah while there's no one watching you except the one who can see you in the unseen. So since you know that He sees you in the unseen, you fear Him in the unseen, that is the best kind of also jihad, to fear Allah. Why the conspiracy of the others had harmed us? This is a very important question. While Allah the Almighty said, if you show patience and you fear, they will not be harming you. And He also said, and our allies are always superiors. They are always superior. So what happened? Did Allah change His promise? Did Allah break His promise? Or that promise is joined, connected, attached with a condition. And that condition is, as we find in one of the beautiful verses of the Quran, that you worship Allah, setting up no partners with Him. If you fulfill those two conditions, the victory is very close to you. And I believe that if we fulfill those two conditions, the promise will not be delayed even 1 second. It's going to be applied. It's going to be fulfilled as Allah fulfilled His promise to His Prophet and to His companions. When they obeyed Allah and they feared Allah, the promise came. The Prophet did not die, but while the Muslims had defeated all their enemies. So we will be mentioning in details a beautiful letter that was sent by Umar, the second caliph. A beautiful letter that gives us today the cure and the secret of, or the therapy, or the solution of the problems that we are encountering nowadays. But let us first, before we say that, before we come to the next episode, we would like to remind ourselves and yourselves that when people disobey their Lord, their disobedience is going to be a warning for them that their enemies are going to defeat them. This is the law of Allah. Let us not forget to remind you this verse where Allah the Almighty said, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِقَوْمٍ حَتَّى يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ. Allah does not change the situation of people from better to worse or from good to bad until they make that change from among themselves or by themselves. If you take change to good, Allah will change your situation to good. And if you change from good to bad, your own situation is going to be changed from good to bad. This is a very important thing. Lest people not say, we have been set up. There is a set up or conspiracy against us. Ask yourselves why those conspiracies or this conspiracy had taken place or it succeeded against you. You're supposed to be the ally of Allah. But it seems to me that those who are supposed to be allies of Allah, those who are they're carrying a beautiful word, and that is Islam or Muslim. That means submissive to Allah the Almighty. You should be submissive to Allah. But if you do not show submission to Allah, you're carrying the name without its meaning, then the law of Allah was upon people before us. It will be applied against us also. That will be punished. We're going to come to this, inshallah, on the next episode. Thank you very much for being with us, but be with us on the next episode. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Oh